Summer is really a wonderful time to read books, and if you're like me, you're always looking for recommendations on what to read. So I have a really wonderful treat. Tonight we're talking to a person who is an avid reader and also an extraordinarily talented writer. Back by popular demand, Anne O'Neill.
Hello Orla, how are you? Thank you again for such an amazing introduction. And I do indeed have a home full of books, and I'm after just picking a kind of mix and gathering of them for you today, and hopefully you'll all find something to read this summer on the beach, whether you're in Venice Beach or Ventry. Personally, I'd say I'll be in Ventry at the moment. But
the way things are looking for all of us.
The way things are looking for all of us. I do love having a good beach read though. I mean, there's nothing nicer than, reclining there on the beach, happy, looking at the sea, the smell of the ocean and your suntan lotion, and nothing ahead of you, nothing too exciting to do other than have wine and chill. And then just if the book completes the picture, it's just sheer bliss. It's heaven.
It is.
Yeah,
it's
on
heaven.
a summer afternoon. So I'm going to start, Orla, with one of my kind of all-time best reads ever, and one of my favourite authors, who is F. Scott Fitzgerald. I've probably reread The Great Gatsby from about 20 times since I read it first in school, doing my leaving cert, and I love this copy because it's very Art Deco. It is the ultimate summer read. It's got everything. It's got champagne, unrequited love, murder, intrigue. It's got everything. It is the ultimate novel, and I'm just going to read a little bit here about summer. And so, with the sunshine and great bursts of leaves growing on the trees, just as things grow in fast movies, I had that familiar conviction that life was beginning again with the summer. So that really gets us set up.
Okay,
Reread that, I think, on your summer holidays. I'm going to go to something very fresh and new. It's Sinead O'Connor's autobiography called Rememberings. I read it in one sitting, completely loved it, but she's our age essentially, and I feel we kind of grew up with her. I would have listened to her music like a crazy person. The Lion and the Cobra probably got me through 87, 88 constantly. Every time I see the songs, I'm brought back to that era. And just like her brother Joseph, she's a fantastic writer, absolutely amazing. Her first few chapters, she is as good as Emma Donoghue in Room. She's able to conjure up the voice of a young girl and look at her life through those eyes again. Fantastic, and for her must have been very cathartic. And also, she was a bad girl, and I think we all like bad girls.
We all do. We all still want to be bad girls.
She never wanted to do what the music industry wanted her to do. There's so many different lessons in it. Just talking about short stories, because sometimes beach reads, you don't want to get involved in anything too complex. You want to kind of start and stop. So I just love Kevin Barry. He's one of the best Irish short story writers, and this is the first one of his collections that I ever read. There Are Little Kingdoms, and he was the first person to write about living in the country. I know Colin Barrett has done that since, but Kevin probably was the daddy of them all, and they're just superb. They're just tiny little vignettes of absolutely beautiful prose. And there are characters you will recognise, especially like us if you live in rural Ireland. And love living in rural Ireland, I shall add. Okay, moving on. Obviously loved Keelan Shanley's autobiography and memoir that was released this year.
And of course, you knew Keelan as well.
I did,
of course,
Orla, yeah. I was very lucky to know her. Met her kind of in the late 80s. We did some radio together, we did a science programme together, and as life went on, we would have met occasionally, not hugely, but very, very fond of her, and of Connor, her husband, who actually wrote the last chapter. So it's a fantastic read for anybody out there who wants to look at how somebody lived, how a life is lived, and lived beautifully, and how a death was approached, and she did that with equal beauty and hugeness and openness of heart. So definitely a great read. Yeah, Keelan Shanley.
Okay.
When I'm on my summer holidays, I always realise, that most Irish families are quite dysfunctional, as you know.
Only on your holidays you realise that.
Yeah, because you have time to think, and you just go, oh my God, yeah, we're all actually barking. But Anne Enright really does the Irish dysfunctional family the greatest service in her novel, The Gathering. I've reread it 2 or 3 times. It's definitely, I will always bring it on a beach holiday because, you know, it's dark and light and funny and just so true. And I think that's why we read, sometimes to get really close to the human condition and get that moment. Okay, my next one, beautiful cover. I think we might be matching it slightly. Otessa Moshfegh, I think she's pronounced. She has 4 or 5 novels out. I loved this. I think it's a real lockdown read as well. My year of rest and relaxation. It's all about quite a very dysfunctional character. She's blonde and beautiful, living in New York, and she decides to put herself into a kind of chemical hibernation for a year on a combination of drugs. And as a pharmacist, I loved all the kind of drug references. It's pretty cool. It's dark and light, and it really gets to the heart of kind of the ennui of our time. Read it. It will make you laugh. You will be laughing.
Okay,
After one of the earliest kind of really famous authors. And I love this. It's sort of a book of erotic short stories called Delta Venus. And very, very interesting. You know, really will get your temperature up on the
Perfect for
beach.
middle age.
Yeah.
I'm taking this one home.
It's about as good as it gets in middle age, reading Delta Venus. I always want to say no more. Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier.
Oh, one of my favourite books of all time.
Fabulous, isn't it?
Adored it.
And can you know, would you like to reread that on
Oh,
the beach?
absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I've read it.
I mean, read the opening line there first.
Okay,
we all
yeah,
know so
we
well.
all know it. Last night I dreamt I went to Mandalay again. It seemed to me as I stood by the iron gate leading to the drive, and for a while I could not enter, for the way was barred to me.
Oh, such a good book.
Fantastic. And
Such
thrillers
a
are
good
great
book.
to read as
Yeah,
well. That
and
kind
it
of
kept me
sense of
guessing
menace.
all the way through. I kind of, until there was the reveal near the end, I would not have
You
guessed
would
it.
not have guessed it. Okay, I'm going to go back here through another kind of thriller read that I have gone back to a few times. Anything by Patricia Highsmith. Carol was brilliant. We saw the movie. We also saw the movie of the talented Mr. Ripley. Reread this because it's just fantastic. And because it's set, lots of it is in Italy on the Italian Riviera. You're just going to love it more, you know, as you reapply your factor.
Well, we'll bring a little bit of summer to us if we can't get away.
Exactly.
I think that's what's really
That's
joyous
it. I mean,
about
books
this.
can bring any climate to you.
They can. They
And any
transport
emotion.
you
They
to
transport you.
another place.
Yeah, I loved it. Shuggie Bain.
Okay.
Tough story, family growing up in the tenements essentially in Glasgow. One of the sons is gay, his mother is abandoned by her husband. It's a tough life, you know, in the kind of in Thatcherite Britain. But Agnes, it's really a poem to his mother, Agnes, who was just amazing. And just to read it, you love her struggles. And you know, they all obviously sort of abandon her on one level, but read it and just be amazed and be prepared to laugh and cry.
Okay.
It's brilliant. Shuggie Bain. By David Sedaris. He's just brilliant, and I luckily met him once in Listowel and he just blew me away. But this is Squirrel Seeks Chipmunks. He's just got a great take on life, and they're tiny. Like, you'd read, you know, one of his essays probably in 10 minutes and then go and have another glass of wine, I suppose.
Why not?
Why not? I was saying to you that I'm a big fan of Rupert Everett earlier.
That's right. And you gave me his book Red Carpet, and I'm enjoying it.
You're
at the
enjoying
moment.
it. That's his first one, and this is his next one. And this is all about how he tried to make an Oscar Wilde movie and the mishaps, and like told with, you know, absolute amazing poetic prowess and humor, and the pictures. It's brilliant and like gorgeous for the beach, because you just have a little bit of like Hollywood glamour, and it's high-low, you know. He gets into fairly sad situations as well, like all of us do. So that's why we like him more. Got to mention Roddy. Loved Love. What a cover.
And I mean, doesn't a cover sell a book as well? I mean,
Big
you
time.
would instantly go into a bookstore, and if that was facing out to you, you would say, I'm going to look at this. I'm
love
going
the
to look
girl.
at this.
Lovely story. It fizzes all along. It's really just two guys who've met up again after having known each other quite well in the late 80s. And you'll have to figure out, no, I'm not going to give you any spoilers, but just like all of Roddy's stuff, lots of it is conversation. It's like a play, really, but loved it. You could consume it in an afternoon and get great pleasure out of it, and recognise.
So that's Roddy Doyle.
That's Roddy. That's another David Sedaris. Okay, just out is Lisa Tedeas's Animal, and they reckon it's going to be the book of the summer.
Okay, so we're getting an early recommendation for this, because you get to do pre-reads, of course.
I
don't
do.
you?
I get sent some stuff by publishers, so I haven't started it yet. I'm dying to start it. You know, I can't wait for you to leave. So she had a book all about women and their sensual life called Free Women. It was more research. It was an actual you know, a proper book. It wasn't a novelistic take. So it's all about kind of female anger, which I think simmers a lot. I heard your interview on BBC Radio 4 today, and they just said it's an amazing read. So, you know, can't wait. Animal. Yeah,
Animal.
yeah. Great line as well. Great name. So another American one that I loved from the 80s, Bright Lights, Big City by Jay McInerney. It's the ultimate, you know, for anybody, for, you know, people of our age. How did you get here? I've written in the front of it. Yeah, existential. It's brilliant because Jay was the 80s kind of party boy in New York. So it's all models, you know, late nights, cocaine, crazy situations. Very, very short though, and an absolute gem. So just if you wanted to go back to that world, there you go. Who am I finding next? An Irish author called Roisin Kybert. Again, essays all about the internet and the way we live now, about the world of AI. Irish writers out there. Orla, you loved Clara and the Sun. I'll just dig that out. I didn't get to finish it yet.
Clara and the Sun.
Yeah.
I like he obviously lives in England now, but I mean he's an original Japanese writer.
You love your
and I
liked Japanese face.
Murakami as well, and I just loved this. I mean, look, it's written in the first person.
Mm-hmm.
I prefer that in books. I always like to live through somebody, and it's just a very emotional book. But like all his books, it has
a huge message,
a bigger meaning than what is written on the page. And afterwards, I went straight off and I read Never Let Me Go.
Lovely.
Which I think the movie, so I kind of ruined what the book was about a little bit for me because I know.
And he always does really different subjects. You can never predict what he's going to write about.
Really enjoyed this book.
Brilliant. Yeah, that's another book of the year. One of my all-time favourites as well is Everett St. Aubyn. So he's got a book. His first book in the trilogy is Mother's Milk. Just pick him up and read it. I mean, it's dark, but it's laughing in the dark. You know, it is fantastic. He's amazing. That's just one that I might just, you know, sneak in to my bag if my baggage allowance allows it.
Again, a great comfort. She actually reminds me of you,
Anne.
Anne.
Stop, yeah. And Dean Martin said, "You're not drunk if you can lie on the floor without holding on." You know, lots of really funny stories and pictures. Sometimes it's lovely to bring just a little bit of fluff like that with you, just to laugh. And good for your Instagram if you're looking for quotes. I was going to mention Martin Amos Money, but I seem to have. Oh no, I have him here. I always go back to Martin Amos as well.
Yeah, you always recommend him. Yes, he's great.
He's one of the giants, really. Mm-hmm. We're never going to see his like again. He's like, you know, some people don't like him, you either like him or, you know, hate him. You know, he's one of those guys. But this is so funny. It's Money by Martin Amos. I've read it, I'd say about 10 times.
Really?
And I
it's
still,
one of those books you revisit?
Yeah, I remember reading it once in France on the beach, and I just started, you know, cracking up, laughing, and there were some really sort of po-faced Germans near me, and I'd say they definitely thought, you know, I wasn't well. I'd say that combined with the huge shades and a couple of other things might have led them to that deduction. But Martin Amos Money, go back, read it, you know, it is amazing. It's funny, it's fantastic, he really is. He's stylistic, he's you know, it's his descriptions are just out of this world. Like, he's one of a taxi driver that always just, I would love to be able to do that. My cabbie was 40ish, lean, balding. Such hair as remains scurried long and damp down his neck and shoulders. To the passenger, that's all city cabbies are, mad necks, mad rugs. This mad neck was impulsively pocketed and mottled with the flicker of adolescent virulence and the crimson underhang of his ears. He lounged there in his corner, the long hands limp on the wheel. I mean, you can never get a taxi again without thinking of that line. It's haunted me.
It's so brilliantly written. It's so brilliantly written.
Yeah, Martin Amos.
And then I guess the last word is, like, look, sometimes there's a snobbery around reading. I mean, some people are looking at this and might think, oh my God, I'd never read that book, or I would read that book. But like you always say, the most important thing is just to read.
I'm completely, like, I read cross genre. I don't, you know, and I think it's very important. I'm very lucky that I kind of got the gift of reading, possibly, you know, very young, you know, 2 or 3 or 4. Like, I just loved books, and, you know, it has definitely brought me great joy and, like, great consolation. You know, brought me places that I mightn't have gone otherwise. It's really, you know, it's fantastic. It's you know, I don't have a load of hobbies. It's one that I've kind of stuck with. You know, the yoga and the Pilates kind of seem to disappear, but I'll always have another book. I can always.
And listen, thank you so much for
joining
all of us. I know you've given people an awful lot of inspiration. For more information, follow Anne on her Instagram account, and I think you'll be sharing a little bit more detail on your top picks here as well. So thank you, everyone.
Getting windy now.
Enjoy the sun and have a wonderful week.
Thank you.